welcome back to Tisha Talks Live at 4:45. My name is Tisha, if we have not formally met yet, and you are tuning in to this live stream that I started back in September as a way to challenge myself, to end my day on a positive note, to give you some words of wisdom and some Tisha nuggets, and just talk about a question of the day or a conversation that I'm having, or sometimes I have guests that come on that I get to introduce you to as well, to keep building your connections and your followings and your network and so on. So if you are tuning into this is streaming off of Facebook, LinkedIn, and my YouTube channel. And if you are watching the replay, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time and joining me today. The chat box is open. You can absolutely send me a comment, say hello, tell me where you're from, or ask a question if this topic resonates with you, or if you want me to chime in, or you want to start that conversation. So if you saw, today I talked about, do you have it? And I kind of left you hanging there. It was a little more vague. But the question of what is it that you have, and if you have it, is do you have this thing? And it is resilience. Do you have resilience? And this week, as we're going into the first week of 2021, I know a lot of us have faced several challenges, even in 2020. And I'll share a little bit about my story and the adversity and the challenges that I faced as well. So you know that I'm definitely the girl that is walking the talk. I don't just say I have adversity, I actually have had adversity and how I've picked myself up. But I'm going to give a big shout out to Dawn Hawking. She is with the Centers for Rehabilitation out here in Tempe. And I shared this story on Monday. I do these rule of life lessons every single week. It's been one of my bucket lists, my journey to share stories and rule of life lessons that I learn with every single experience, good, bad, evil, ugly, awesome, whatever it is, success or struggle or whatever it is. I like to be able to share what I learned from that. And that's a great way for me to leave a legacy for my kids. It's also a great way for others to connect to that story as well, because storytelling, as you know, is pretty powerful stuff. So a shout out to Dawn Hawking, who read this post that I shared on Monday, and in one word, in one comment, had written resilience. And it got me thinking about how can we be resilient in 2021, given that everything we've faced this year, everything that we may face this year, adversity, challenges are all among us. Every single person has had to go through those challenges and that adversity. And I want to share a little bit about my story in this. And then I want to offer you up some tips on how to be more resilient, how to get through the adversity that you may be facing this year. And, it's that question of, are we born with resilience? Are we born with confidence? And I love this article that I found off of Inc.com that says, no, you're not born with resilience. In fact, you are born to go through certain things in your life that start to shape you as an individual and start to encourage you to pick yourself back up, to keep moving forward, and so on. So this is a really inspirational topic that I'm going to jump right into. Again, if you are tuning in and you want to send a comment or whatnot, I do check the replays as well if you are checking this out at a later time or later date. It's there in cyberspace for as long as you need it. There you go. So I want to share some stories with you on adversity. And I want to just kind of frame the picture, because again, I think we look at individuals when they're online and that you're like, that girl, that guy, he has it all figured out. He's never had any hardships. Everything's been handed to them. In fact, I've had a friend of mine, Patty, who's like, you've got the Midas touch. Everything you touch turns to gold. And it's like, oh, hell no, it does not. It does not at all. I've had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to land here. And I'm still not where I want to be, but I keep moving and I keep moving the needle and inching forward. So I like to say in 2017 was really my rock bottom year. It was the most adversity I had faced in a single year. And I write about that very openly and honestly in my book, What Are the Odds? And some of you know my story, read the story, or have kind of watched me evolve in this journey, know that that I was a victim of money laundering. I had been hit with a fraud, some scams, and I was found guilty, in fact. And oh, it's not on LinkedIn anymore. So if you are on LinkedIn, I'll put the replay in there, but looks like we're just doing this off of Facebook anyway. Okay, sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulties here. So if it's not on LinkedIn, I'll get it back on LinkedIn. But for the most part, if you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, awesome. We're still going with this. Technical difficulties live at its best. All right. So real quick, I was sharing that back in 2017, I was part of a money laundering scam, unbeknownst to me. Didn't know it was happening till it was too late. And even though I fought it, I was still found guilty. I was still found guilty, and I had to pay back everything that this person stole from me. And it was quite the shitty experience, pardon my French. It was pretty damn horrible. And I remember feeling very alone, very much like I didn't know what I was doing. I lost all the confidence. I remember sitting on a park bench just crying because I didn't know if I wanted to get back up. I didn't know if I wanted to get in the game. I didn't know if I wanted to even be an entrepreneur. And that's hard for me to come to grips with, because that's exactly what I love to do. I love being my own boss. I love controlling my schedule and the freedom that comes with it, and so on. And here I am again, wondering if I'm in the right place, on the right path, and I didn't even know. And there's a really great analogy that my friend Misty Cortez, and she's had her own share of adversity too. I've actually had her on my Success Over Struggle podcast in the past when I was still running the podcast. And one thing that she said really stuck in my head is, you can't get much lower than the floor. And so a lot of us know about, I'm on the floor, I'm down on the floor. Do I stay on the floor, or do I start to pick myself back up? And this whole thought of get off the floor, you're better than this, get off the floor, don't stay on the floor for too long, is what I want to emphasize here when we talk about resilience and how to be resilient. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to just this past year. So very new, very fresh in 2020. You guys know I was on this trajectory. I was getting ready to do more professional speaking gigs. I had gigs lined up all around the country, and finally made it, and finally getting paid to do something that I love, and continuing to do business mentoring, and continuing to do live events and consulting and all of this. And again, overnight, like many of us experienced, it all went to the wayside. It was all just finito. It was done. And I sat here and I could think about it again of, well, how am I going to pivot? How am I going to get back up? How am I going to be resilient? And I know, because of having these experiences in the past and having had that adversity, that I know it wasn't going to get as bad as it did before. I know that I had a plan, and I could start moving into action, and I could learn from my mistakes, and I could just keep moving. So I want to just share with you something that happened. So again, last year, this whole COVID thing, I went from zero, like literally $0 in the bank, of okay, now I have to figure this out again. And I ended up going on unemployment. Some of you guys saw that in my post. I wrote about it in my Rule of Life lesson. My husband, some friends of mine had shared, hey, they're giving they're being more lenient on self-employed freelancers because of what's going on in COVID. You should apply. I end up applying kind of against my will, but I do it anyway. I end up getting unemployment, and I had unemployment from April until it ended in September, because of some Social Security fraud. And I like to say that it was kind of my blessing in disguise, because when you think about that, it was the way that like God pushed me out and said, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to fly. You can't depend on the government anymore. This is being done. You no longer have it. Now go. And that's exactly what I did. I started to really build myself back up, pick it up, move forward, figure out, what am I supposed to say? What am I going to do? What am I going to do next? And that is all about that resiliency that I want to get at today. So when I ask you, do you have it? You may be saying, Tisha, I don't know if I have that resiliency. but it doesn't mean you can't get that resiliency, okay? It doesn't mean that you can't be more resilient as time goes on. Now, I'm reading this really great book. Some of you guys have seen the book, Think and Grow Rich. And there's so many stories in there of people that we all love and admire and respect, and these business owners. And I was reading the story of Howard Schultz from Starbucks, and how, he had this vision and he never stopped working for it, even though he was losing all sorts of money. People were doubting him. They didn't realize that Starbucks was going to be this big name internationally, this coffee shop, this coffee house. And I really love that story because, again, we look at people and we're like, that person, they've had it handed to them. And you really have to say, you know what? They didn't. They had to work for it. They had to become resilient. They had to face adversity. They had to face loss. They had to lose money. I shared with you my money laundering scam and how I owed money that I didn't want to pay back, but I had to. And, all of those things. So I want to share with you, there's a really great article, and I'm going to post it in the replays for Inc.com. And Inc.com, this president and CEO of Lead From Within, her name is Lolly Daskell, and I found this great article on Inc. I love to do the research and kind of read on it on my own. And she talks about how to be more resilient when things get tough. Again, our question of the day is, do you have it? That keyword is resilience. And how to be more resilient. So how to cope with stress and adversity. And it's more about believing in yourself and believing in something even bigger than you are, right? Believing in yourself is key, but believing that it's bigger than you are, and it's how you serve and it's how you help other people. So I'm going to just give you some of the 10 tips that she shared. And again, I'll put this link in the comments if you want to dive in deeper to what she said, because it's a pretty incredible article. But she says, don't try to solve problems with the same thinking that you had when you created them. Very on point. The other thing is master your emotions. Learn from your mistakes. Now, I think about that day where I was sobbing in the park because of this money laundering scam, or because my dreams totally went out the window last year. And your emotions definitely take over. You're crying, you're upset, you're all of this. But what she's saying is, don't let your emotions take over. Think about it with a clear head, so that you can further make the decision. Don't think about it of, okay, woe is me, I can't do this, but really think clearly about how you start to pick yourself back up off the floor, because as Misty said, you can't get much lower than the floor, right? The other thing is stay tough, or as I like to say, stay badass, and have that adaptive attitude. Focus on the possibilities and keeping that positive mind and that positive mindset. The other thing, keep going, keep growing, be bold, be courageous, take those risks that are necessary. Hey, Conrad, good to see you here. Yeah, I'm preaching there, sir. All right, the other thing is, when we talk about keep growing, this whole thing of what happens is within us. It's not what happened to us, it's what happens within us. What happens when we're hit with that adversity and those challenges? And again, how do we deal with certain circumstances? And there's two things. You can either stay on that down floor and cry about it, or you can start to pick yourself back up. And I understand that it takes time, and it takes you getting back up and becoming more confident. But that's exactly what we need to be doing if we're going to be more resilient. And we all have to be resilient. We all have to. We cannot just stay on the floor crying and hoping it passes. Sometimes it doesn't, right? So the other thing, stay prepared, keep planning, even if it's not working out yet. So I work with a ton of entrepreneurs, okay? Like a godly amount of entrepreneurs, startups, some established businesses, some people that are just switching their careers and doing something completely different. And I know that sometimes we're like, it's going to work. It's going to work. It will work. Just keep working at it. So think again about those possibilities, envision and start working for that vision, working for that plan, and focus on those possibilities and keep planning as if it's already happening. Just as I said that one of my favorite books, I'm reading it right now, Think and Grow Rich, it talks about looking at it as if you're already in possession of it. Conrad here, realtor, Carl, Sean Watkins, aspiring lawyer. Look at it as, I already have it. I've got this. Like, I already have that degree. I already have that license. I'm looking at that. You guys heard my intention for 2021 is to finish my real estate license. I start classes on Monday, and I'm like, I already have it. Like, that's how you start to think about it, even if things aren't going as fast as you want them to. You've got to think about, you know what, I've already got this. I just talked about Howard Schultz from Starbucks and how it took him years to come up with that plan and years to make it work. And he had to, go through some loss and so forth. So again, if you were so ingrained in what that vision is and you can see it, you can taste it, you can feel it, then start moving in that as if you already have it in you and already have that with you. The other thing is pick yourself up as many times as you can. Great piece of advice right there. The other one, reward the wins. I am a big believer in that. I don't believe in we just pat ourselves on the back when we hit something huge. We pat ourselves on the back as we keep going and we hit those small wins to get to the huge, right? You've got to do that. If you finished a class, like here's me, I'm taking these real estate classes starting Monday. Every dang class, I'm going to pat myself on the back and go one step closer. Next day, pat myself on the back, one step closer. All right. If we only look at the big win, we've missed out on so many of those moments. All right. Carl Sean saying, yes, I feel that. I'm just going to throw some of these things up on the board. And then, Conrad and you preach. Oh yeah, I'm preaching a little bit today because I think you guys all need to hear this message. I know that I really need to hear this message because we all need this advice. Every single one of us. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a student, if you're a business owner, if you work for someone, if you're a working home mom, if you're a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, it doesn't matter. Every single one of us needs to have this trait. Every single one of us needs resilience. Every single one of us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. All right. Even my kids who are 12 and 9 need to learn resiliency. Okay. The other thing, keep giving back. Keep giving back. I do a lot with nonprofits. I love to be able to help nonprofits however, wherever I can, even if it's volunteer, even if it's, donation, if I can, if I have the means to do that. But keep giving back. That's one thing that she says to develop your resiliency. The other thing she says is create your own meaning. Love that, because when you create your own meaning, you understand what your personal why is. And last but not least, build relationships. We're not meant to go through this lovely life on our own. We are meant to be surrounded by people that lift us up, that build us up. And that's honestly, why I love building community, why I'm so big into building community here in Arizona where I'm from, but also building community online through some social media, through things that I'm doing. So don't go at life alone. Definitely build up community and build those relationships because they can only help you. And I will say, surround yourself with the people that do, that inspire you, that motivate you, that are steps ahead of you so you can always be learning. One of the best things that I did this year, this week, obviously I say this year, but last year, best thing I ever did was invest in myself and invest in my personal and professional development. You can always be learning. You can always be learning. There's no one on this planet that knows every single thing there is to know about any one given thing. So always, 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 always be learning. And I did that a lot last year. And that honestly was what helped me to build that resiliency, because as soon as I did it, I was like, I've got it. I've got this. Just like Carl, who is an aspiring lawyer, he's back in school, and I've had him on this live stream before where he said he's the oldest one in the class. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. If you're the oldest, if you're the youngest, if you're 90 years old and you decide you want to do it, then hell, do it. Okay. All right. What I'm doing now wasn't what I was doing a year ago, but I learned and I kept challenging myself and I kept growing and I kept learning and I kept moving and I kept trying. Here's a prime example. Tomorrow, I'm doing my personal brand builder live. I literally have said I've pulled this event out of my ass. Sorry, I don't mean to say that. But I'm being very, Tisha-ish, because I say that I don't know what I'm doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, the best way to do it is to do it scared. That's how you build up that resiliency. That's how you move. That's how you move. That's how you learn. That's how you learn from your mistakes. That's how you keep going and keep improving and keep getting better. But if you don't do it, if you don't do it at all, then you'll always have regret and you'll never do it. Okay. So, this personal brand builder live event I'm hosting tomorrow, if you guys are interested, there's still tickets available. It's going to be one high energy, because that's kind of how I roll, high energy event, and lots of, fun speakers, a chance for you to really focus on you, because it's all about you this year. It's all about who you are, how you embrace you, how you put you out there, and how you let you work for you. How does that become a benefit when you know who you are, you know your messaging, and you put that out there? All right. So, personalbrandbuilder.live is the link if you want to grab a ticket. It's $10. Very, 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 very affordable. And it's a great way for you to focus on you, no distractions, and think about your vision, your planning, your content, all of that, as we start to build you up and build your confidence in 2021. All right, Michelle, I just want to put your comment up, joining us on LinkedIn. It's so funny, guys. I got on LinkedIn this message that my live went haywire, like it deleted it or wasn't being broadcast there. But hey, thanks so much, StreamYard, for bringing it back so the people on LinkedIn could listen to this live. But what did she say here? She says, such amazing nuggets today. Need to connect over a virtual coffee soon. Absolutely. You guys know that about me. I love virtual coffees. I love virtual lattes, actually, is what I call them. So, yeah, absolutely. If you're on here and you're like, I like you, I just want to have a coffee with you, by all means, hit me up. We can do a virtual coffee, virtual latte together. And Michelle, yes, of course, I miss you. Good to see you on here. Conrad Nelson, if you want to learn how to make a movie, make a movie. Yes. Quentin Tarantino, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, great, great, great director. But think about that, guys. Do you think Quentin Tarantino just rolled out of bed and said, I'm just this amazing movie director without having made one? He had to make one, and he had to keep learning how to get better at it. This virtual event that I've never hosted a virtual event in my damn life. Yeah, it's late. It's like happy hour time. So I'm probably, using the language a little bit too much on this, but hey, it's me. It's my personal brand. So there you go. But that's what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm doing for tomorrow, but I'm going to damn well try, and I'm going to keep it going, and I'm going to learn from my mistakes and keep iterating and get better and better and better so that I become a pro at this virtual event stuff, because that's where we're moving to. You guys all know I do live events. I don't do virtual events. And now I'm doing virtual events, and I'm challenging myself, and I'm encouraging you to even challenge yourself too. Michelle putting here on the comment box, so much change going into 2021. Oh my goodness. Yes, of course. You guys know I used to host a live event here called Social Connect. I don't know if that's ever coming back. It makes me sad, but I've come to grips with it. Remember what she said in this post of, don't let your emotions manage you, right? Go into it with a clear head. You can't just let your emotions take over and run wild. But say, okay, it is what it is. I gave it a good run. If that's the end of it, that's the end of it. Moving on. Because if we dwell on the past, we dwell on the past, and then we never get to move forward. All right. So Carl Sean Watkins, I just want to give you a shout out. Yes, it's inspiring me right now. Keep it going. Needed. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate that comment. That's my goal, honestly, with Tisha Talks Live. It's to jump on in, to give you some words of wisdom, to give you some Tisha style nuggets, to share some stories and so on, and keep pushing you, because that's what we need. We need those relationships. We need people that are going to push us to be our very best self. So I know I just threw a bunch at you, but all good stuff. I learn a lot. I just love to share that knowledge that I get. I am going to go ahead and write that link for that Inc.com post. And this one is how to be more resilient when things get tough. I would highly encourage you all to read it. I just touched on some of her top 10s, but there are some really great nuggets in there of how to become more resilient, especially when we're faced with adversity and challenges and not knowing, entirely what 2021 is going to hold, good, bad, whatever it is. Okay. So that's it for today's Tisha Talks Live. I want to say thanks so much for tuning in with me and being a part of this live stream. I am back next Tuesday, 4:45, just as it suggests. Tisha Talks Live at 4:45. So check in with me. And if you want to grab that virtual latte, of course, let me know. And I will catch you back next time. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. And if you are tuning in tomorrow to Personal Brand Builder Live, I will see you there. A little bit of a dance party, a lot of interaction. So be ready to come, to learn, to ask questions, to break out into some different groups, and to really focus on you, which I know a lot of us don't do all the time, but it's time to focus on you for a change. And we're going to do that tomorrow. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Goodbye.